If all these stories have you wanting to go on your own adventure and you don't want to spend a ton of money and you don't want to take a ton of time away from work and family, I highly encourage you to check out Lost Travel Company. They do trips all over the country, everything from biking to rafting to kayaking, hiking, etc. And on each trip, there's an official start line and an official finish line, but getting between locations is totally up to you. However you want to do it, however you want to carry your gear, it's a total free-for-all in between. And it is a group trip, but they're very small groups, so you get to know people, but you can also easily practice social distancing. So a lot of the trips are still happening. And like I said, they're very affordable, very easy to get out and go do because they have figured out a lot of the logistics for you, but it still leaves so much room for adventure to happen. And with each trip, they give back 5% of the total trip as a donation to the area where the trip is happening. So if you'd like to find out more, go to lost.travel and use the code ADVENTURESPORTS for 10% off any of the trips listed. If you're suffering from stress, anxiety, lack of sleep, inflammation, pain management, kind of like I am pretty much all the time, I highly encourage you to check out cocanacare.com. And that's C-O for Colorado. It's a Colorado-based company. Canna, C-A-N-N-A, care.com. They make incredible CBD oil that's derived from all natural, high-quality industrial hemp. It's legal in all 50 states and is USDA certified 100% organic. And there's absolutely no THC content in the oil. It's non-GMO and contains no heavy metals or pesticides. They've been gracious enough to help support us during this time, so if you're wanting to try CBD oil for any of those reasons I mentioned and a lot more on their website, I highly encourage you just to give it a shot, check it out. Go to cocanacare.com. And again, that's C-O for Colorado, C-A-N-N-A care.com. This is the Adventure Sports Podcast, where we hear stories of adventure from every corner of the planet. We interview all sorts of folks who are using their sport to explore the world around them and give you the inspiration you need to get out there and have some fun.
Hey everyone, before we jump into today's show, I know that podcasters listen to podcasts, and I want to remind you that I have started a new company called PodDivvy, and PodDivvy is about supporting independent media, podcasters like you, by providing ad revenue, and you don't have to have a huge show to get ads through PodDivvy. We can make that work for the pre-huge shows, so go to poddivvy.com to learn more information. You can contact me there. Thanks for listening to the Adventure Sports Podcast, and thank you for checking out PodDivvy, Poddivvy, PodDivvy. Hey friends, Curt Linville here. Thank you for listening to the Adventure Sports Podcast. You know, I am doing a few guest host episodes for Mason while he is out supporting a coast-to-coast bike ride, so anyway, I hope you don't mind, but a voice from the past again today. Today, I have Tyler Scott and Craig Payne with me from Hustle Bike Labs, and the subject is mountain biking, which of course you know is one of my favorite subjects on the planet, so we're going to have a ton of fun with it. Whether you like mountain biking or not, listen to this episode, because by the end we might have you convinced. But Craig grew up in Texas, somewhere near Lubbock, and his family was in the restaurant business, but he always loved the outdoors, and while he became a restaurant aficionado, he was never satisfied, and the outdoors finally dragged him out of that industry into the outdoor industry of biking. Tyler Scott is the co-founder with Craig of Hustle Bike Labs, and he grew up in Southern California. He sold insurance, but again, same story. His family was really into motorcycles and racing, and he loved the outdoors, and insurance just wasn't cutting it for him, so he ended up co-founding Hustle Bike Labs with Craig, and now we have the two of them here to talk about mountain biking. So welcome to the program, guys.
Thanks for having us, Curt.
Yeah, thanks, Curt.
Yeah, you bet. So first, let's start with Craig. Craig, just a little story about what dragged you out of the restaurant business into your current line of work.
Oh, anybody that's ever worked in the restaurant business, it's incredibly fun in a lot of ways. You get to be creative, and you're constantly moving. You're not a sit down job, so don't sign up in the restaurant industry if you want a sit down job, because that's not going to happen. Uh, but I love the science behind the food industry, as far as creating foods with smokes and different flavors and yada yada yada. There's a lot of parts of the restaurant business I enjoyed, but I always found peace of mind and just the excitement of being outdoors. Whether it be rock climbing, road biking, skiing, snowboarding, and then obviously mountain biking, which in the past 10 years became my passion. And so I just, man, I wanted to be in the outdoor industry, and by fate, which I'm sure we'll talk about at one point, was that turning point, near-death experience that woke me up, and here we are in the outdoor industry, and dream come true, to be honest.
Well, right on. I want to talk about your near-death experience, and I have a parallel story too. So we'll come back to that in just a minute. But Tyler, what about you? From Southern California insurance salesman. Now, there's a big leap from that to a co-founder of a mountain biking company.
Oh, I know. It's so, I mean, really, I can think back to, a couple of years ago when I first met Craig, was just at the trail, and he was talking about, his idea with the pedal. And to me, I was just like, that's brilliant. Why has nobody done that? And it was really that point that I was like super intrigued, and I was just, really excited, for that pedal to come out. And I was still selling insurance at the time, and I continued on for about a year. And then I got to the point where, I was traveling all over Texas, Oklahoma, and I was just like, you know what, I want to pursue my passion. And that's when I really, jumped on board with Craig, and
heck yeah,
start to get the dream alive. So
that's cool. Well,
and
we're
I
gonna.
love riding with Ty, because Ty's the best rider I've ever ridden with in my life. And he makes me better. It pushes me. I'm still evolving as a mountain biker, and every day I ride with him, I get a little bit better, but I still can't catch him. So
thanks, man.
That's my lifelong dream, is to beat him one day.
Well, you guys were here a couple of weeks ago in Gunnison, and you're in the Fort Worth area right now, but I got lucky enough to ride with you guys. And I have to agree, Craig, I'd like to be able to do a manual like Tyler does. That would be awesome.
He's got a lot of steeds, doesn't he?
Yeah, man, it was a fun ride. It was really great to get to ride with you guys. Good time.
Thank you for allowing us to come on that. It was
that was
smiles for days.
Well, hey, we have a little bit of riding here that's kind of fun, so you guys are always welcome, of course.
Thank you. Yes, we will. Hopefully it'll be permanent here.
So you're in the greater Fort Worth area right now. So do you have plans to try to move this direction?
Yes, we will headquarter in the sunny Gunny Valley of Colorado.
Oh, that's fantastic. So that might have had something to do with why you came here, not just to see me, right?
Yeah,
that was one of the reasons.
Yeah, you were definitely high on the list, Curt.
Since we met that day, I'm sure that was a big deal. So, well, hey, let's rewind a little bit. First of all, let's give him a teaser, Craig. You sell a very special kind of mountain bike pedal, and we might as well tell the story associated with how you came up with the idea, but then we won't dive into it until later. But the story's too good to pass up, so go for it.
Oh, okay. Well, back in 2015, I was, riding one of the iconic trails in Moab. Probably a trail you shouldn't be riding by yourself, and much less on a hot summer day. But I was doing the whole enchilada that day. Those familiar with Moab, the whole enchilada. They shuttle you up to the LaSalle Mountains, and then you just ride all these amazing single track iconic trails back into Moab. Well, I decided to take a little detour, and there's one trail I've been watching on YouTube that I just had to see, touch, and feel. Of course, when I got there, I was pretty wasted because, the whole enchilada's 26, 27 miles. And Moab in the summer is pretty dadgum brutal. The heat is, it wears on you. But nonetheless, it was something I had to go see. So I ended up jumping on this iconic trail named the Portal by myself, like I said. And so I'm going through, and adrenalines are going. It's a crazy trail. If you're scared of heights, then it's a trail you want to stay off of because the exposure is generally 200 feet plus.
Oh,
sheer cliff wall. You're riding on a cliff wall. I mean, there's a trail on it, but sometimes parts of the trail, it's big enough for your handlebars with exposure on the other side.
Oh man.
I'm going through and riding that fine line of confidence and fear, and getting a little hot spot, bump off a boulder, lose my balance. I'm riding clipped in at the time, and I'm just trying to get my foot unclipped so I can just regain my balance. Well, I end up going over the bar. I couldn't do that, obviously. Went over the bars. Everything kind of went fuzzy, and the next thing I remember, I'm hanging off a 200 plus foot cliff over the Colorado River on a canyon wall. And a lot of things went through my head at that moment. But I guess at that point it's like I just gotta I gotta climb back up because I'm still alive. So I managed to get myself back up, and needless to say, I walked my bike for about a quarter of a mile after that because it rattled me pretty deep. Thought about my kids and my wife and how stupid I was for that moment. But in that moment I realized necessity is the mother of invention. And I was like, God, there's got to be a better solution, because that day that I was riding, I was performance is what I had on my mind. I wanted to be clipped to my bike because I was going to be in some tough areas and needed that connection. So I chose the clips over the flats that day. And so I just started brainstorming at that point that there's got to be a solution to this. And so eventually I did have a aha moment about 6 months later after working on the project, which I don't know if you want to get into that or not. It's not an exciting story, but it was how the magnets were discovered, the contraption, the main piece of the pedal. So I just got to work, and then I sold my shares in the restaurant industry that next year in 16. And then I've been focusing on R&D ever since then on the pedals.
That's a lot of fun. We'll dive into the details later.
Okay.
But that's an amazing story. I want to tell the listeners, first of all, if you've never mountain biked before and you don't know anything about it, you don't have to bike like that. That's optional, right? You don't have to do narrow trails on 200-foot high cliffs, but you can. That's out there for you, right?
Right.
So,
everybody though.
Oh man. Well, Craig, it sounds to me like you got the idea scared into you. Is what it sounds like.
Very much so.
That's awesome. So that's the tickler. We'll come back to that. So, but for you mountain bikers out there, what Craig has is a pedal that uses rare earth magnets to hold your foot in place, so you can ride a platform pedal where you can release in any direction, and it keeps your foot anchored like you want it to be, but gives you the added safety of being able to get off of it when you need to. So we'll talk all about that in a little bit, but I want to talk about mountain biking a little. And Craig, I have a similar story, though not quite as dramatic, and it didn't cause me to start a new company. But I was biking on Deer Creek up at Crested Butte, And my sons are racers, so they left me behind, of course. So I was alone. And I got to a place where the trail was narrow and there was a very, very steep bluff instead of a cliff. But I just got offline because of a rock on the trail. And so I tried to come to a stop and put my foot down, but I messed up with my clip-in pedal. And I tumbled. I went down the bluff and tumbled several times. I cut my wrist to the bone and broke a rib, but I was okay. I was able to ride on out of there. But it was probably in part to the pedals I was using. So there you go. Same story.
Exactly. And, like you said, everybody that's mountain biked has a similar story, has the story that is connected to a clipless pedal, no pun intended, but clipless pedals are great. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, no, I use them right now because I don't have yours yet, and I do like them a lot. And around here, we call it a pedal flop. And what that means is you can't get your foot out of the pedal, so you fall over. So it's a pedal flop, right? Which, if you're not moving very fast, is funny to laugh at. But if you're hauling, it could be a problem. So, Tyler, why did you get into mountain biking?
For me, really, as a little kid, as far as I can remember, I was glued to a bike. I was riding wheelies up the street, and the people in our little local town that I grew up in, they all called me the Wheelie King because I was just riding a wheelie everywhere I went. But really, when I was living in Southern California, I was, really into motocross, and that kind of consumed all my time and focus. But then I started getting more into the mountain biking. I had a good friend, Cody Phillips, who he's heavily involved in the industry and really, really fast racer. But we were on the same soccer team, so he kind of got me more into the mountain biking world. And then I fell in love. To me, I loved, riding motorcycles. They're a blast, but there's something about mountain biking that it just, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but it's just the feeling you get when you're out on the trail, and it's just magical. Plus, typically when you're out riding, it's with people that are like-minded, and, it's just, to me, it's everything for me. But,
I've noticed, there's usually a motorized and a non-motorized component to almost every outdoor sport. Some people love the motorized bit, and I say more power to you. But I have leaned toward the non-motorized on almost everything. Even the ski lifts now are getting replaced with climbing skins. You know what I mean? More and more, I find the way it opens up everything. It's quiet, it's peaceful, it's focused. I'm getting better exercise. Is that what drew you in, Tyler?
I think so. Because, when you're riding at a motocross track, for example, you have, 25 pounds of gear on, and the motor, and you're just, you have to be so focused. You can't really take a second to even look at something else, because it's so fast paced and, wide open, where as mountain biking, you have those moments where you're, on the gas, but for the most part, you can stop, enjoy the scenery, you're talking, you're climbing up a hill and you're chatting and you're talking about, new bike parts and trails
talking
and
about mountain biking.
and talking about bikes is really what it is. But to me, there's just something about that. And it's, my dad, he's turning 60 in about a month, and he's, hardcore into riding. My mom, they love it. And to me, it's just something I can do with my parents. And my girlfriend, she's, she got into mountain biking, and I don't know, it's a great community. Yeah, it's good people, really, too.
I agree completely. And I've met hundreds of mountain bikers, of course, living in Gunnison, and man, you meet people on the trail and they're just, grins ear to ear. Everyone's in a great mood. They're doing something they love to do, and they're also supportive and fun. It's a cool community, really cool community.
That vibe's contagious.
Yeah.
Well, it's meditating too. You could have a million problems going on, and you go out and ride, and they're all gone.
You're not thinking about anything. You got to be in a meditative state mountain biking, right, Curt?
Yeah, you focus. It's game on.
Game on. You can't be thinking about anything else.
Yeah, it really is true. And you can get on a wide, easy trail if you just want to think, and it's a great way to have some time to sort things out. But man, you get on something a little bit narrow and gnarly, and yeah, you're going to be focused. You're going to be focused for sure. Well, I want your perspective, guys, because since you're living in the Texas area, I came from northeastern Oklahoma, and I used to play in like northwest Arkansas all the time. But I was there before mountain biking had really caught on. And I moved to Colorado, and mountain biking has become a thing, right? But I don't know what it's like back there now. And I know, Tyler, you did the Arkansas Enduro Series, actually did well with that. What is mountain biking like in other places away from Colorado now?
I think it's just growing so much, and you look at places like northwest Arkansas, where the Walmart Foundation has put in millions and millions of dollars into the trail system, and it's just amazing to see, because you get out in the trail and you see families and kids, and it's promoting a healthy lifestyle, and it's but yeah, it's crazy what they have up there, the miles of trail and quality trail. And even here in Texas, we have a lift access bike park now outside of Austin year round, and you'd be surprised how many trails there are, and the mountain bike clubs, and there's really a big presence of it here. And
yeah, it's the third largest mountain bike population in the country.
Wow.
Of course, Texas is huge. Yeah, you got to take that in consideration. But
no, I think, and in these the days we're in now, I think a lot of people are wanting to get outside more, and I think it's been growing, but I think even more so now. I think it's just people go out and ride, and then they're hooked. I mean, it's pretty easy to
catch the fever.
And it doesn't matter how old you are, because we all have that inner kid inside of us. And
well, I think that's the beauty of it, though.
Yeah, it brings out your...
Yeah, you got, there could be a 15-year-old, 13, 14, 15-year-old, and there could be a 75-year-old, you're riding with that same day. And I think that's special.
Yeah, I agree. I have a friend that I used to ride road bikes with all the time. And we did a lot of that growing up before mountain biking was a thing in Oklahoma. And a while back, he looked at me and he said, "Man, you won't catch me on a mountain bike." He says, I like to keep my collarbone and my arms intact, and he was talking about how dangerous it felt to him. But, I bring that up because I've done the research, and mountain biking, I like to say it gives you more thrill with less risk than other forms of riding. And the reason is because generally you're going slower, and crashes are usually not terribly damaging, but you get hit by a car, man, that's a problem. So I did the research. Mountain biking is much safer than road riding. Did you guys know that?
I'd have to, that makes sense though, because
well, because I've had crashes on road bikes at 55 miles an hour.
Oof.
And without a doubt, there's nothing worse than road rash. Holy cow.
But yeah, cars, to me, it's like, it doesn't matter how cautious and how much you're paying attention. All it takes is one person to swerve a little bit, and
but there's a certain magical thing about road biking too, if you really want to turn things off and focus on something, because like mountain biking, you have so many elements coming at you perpetually. Road biking, you can kind of get in a zone and turn off.
Yeah, I can see that.
But also, and I think gravel bike too, that's something that I myself, which I still, mountain biking to me is number one, but I've gotten more into gravel biking just for a different form of training, and it's pretty great. It's just
fun.
it's
fun, especially with a group of people.
Well, and Ty, you just brought something up that I was wanting to bring up anyway, and that is there are a lot of different kinds of mountain biking. Matter of fact, the word mountain biking is probably kind of a misnomer at this point, because how many different types of quote-unquote mountain bikes are there designed for different terrain types and different areas? And then you just talked about the hybrid between the two, the gravel bike, which is kind of like the road bike that can go on the dirt roads, right?
Right.
Correct. Yep. I've even taken them on single track.
Yeah.
Actually, and
that's one of our rides. We'll do 15 miles out, and then it ends in a bike park. we do a lap around the bike park on the gravel bikes, and then we come back. So, and it's a lot of fun on the single track. It's quite fast. You feel like a knife cutting through the woods.
Well, we were talking about, I think when you guys were here, how much mountain biking is niched down. So you have downhill bikes, you have enduro bikes, you have trail bikes of different levels, you have cross country bikes, now you've got gravel bikes. What did I leave out,
No, yeah, there's so many different bikes and, they're constantly.
There's hybrids up top of hybrids.
Well, the beauty of that, I think, is that there is a bike that was made for where you live. No matter where you live, there's a bike that was made for that. And that's kind of the point. You don't have to be in the mountains, quote unquote, to mountain bike. Maybe we should call them off-road bikes or trail bikes or something. I don't know. I guess trail bike is taken, right?
They just need dirt and rocks.
Yep, that's it. Dirt and rocks. Although it is fun to get 2,000 or 3,000 verts and then come back down that again.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, to me personally, that's my absolute favorite is, especially somewhere like Crested Butte, Gunnison, where it's so beautiful. I mean, it's painful when you're climbing up, but it's also magical because, you have the scenery and you can hear elk and, certain times of the year, and you really earn your descent, which
you got to earn your turns,
but
it's totally worth it. And just remember, the summit's only the halfway point.
They say you should save like 2/3 of your energy for going down when you're mountain climbing because you don't really know what you're going to run into.
That's right. Especially in the Rockies.
Yep.
Going downhill is almost as hard as going uphill.
Okay, so since you guys are in Texas and you've traveled to find the mountain biking meccas that you enjoy, name 5 places that you like to ride. What do you think are the 5 best places you've been?
Together or separately?
Independently, it doesn't matter. We'll let you guys fight it out.
I think we'd both agree on our number 1, which honestly it'd have to probably be Hartman.
Yeah.
For me, at least, would be Hartman Rocks because
love Hartman Rocks.
There's just something about it. I mean, it's so diverse, and you can if you want to go down something super techy and gnarly, you can do that. You can also just have a super fun, flowy, easier ride, and it's just it's got miles and miles of trails, and it never gets boring to me.
Yeah. And it changes colors throughout the day.
So I think that would probably be number 1, which to me, I mean,
I concur.
Crested Butte, which I know it's just up the road, but that's another place that's just probably the most scenic. I've ridden in Austria and, been in Peru and all these other places. And to me, I still think that Crested Butte is more, is prettier in my opinion. But so I think that'd have to be up there.
Bentonville.
Yeah, Bentonville is another one that, because, here in Texas, we're only about 6 hours to Bentonville, and
Arkansas.
I mean, they have correct, yes, and it's just unreal what they have up there. I mean, it's
Walt Disney for mountain bikes.
They're building a mile a day, and it's flowy, burned out rock features. I mean, it's pretty incredible what they're doing up there. But so I think Bentonville definitely is on that list.
What about Moab? Where does Moab come in there?
Moab, I love going to Moab. So, Moab would be in my top, easily top 5, probably top 3. And it depends what time of the season too. And you want to hit Moab in, fall or spring. Summers are brutal in the high desert.
Well, I was personally happy that you guys mentioned Hartman Rocks because, of course, that's my favorite. But I can't say that because I live here. I'd be biased. That's that's Gunnison's mini Moab is what we call it, right?
Exactly. I think that's why I like it so much because it's, because lots of parts of Moab, there's travel time, and Hartman's is right on the edge of Gunny. You can ride your bike to it. You can go grind out some miles. You can have some wee. You Well, you can just challenge yourself in so many different ways there. It's all right if you just want to grind miles out on some fire roads, you can do that. Add some of the, the flowy single track up top. But I say it scratches all the itches.
Yeah, it really has just a little bit of everything. And what's crazy is that the riding in CB is world class, and that's 30 minutes up the road, and it's completely different than Hartman Rocks. So
yeah, you
Yeah,
got high desert, you got high alpine, 30 minutes apart. It's the perfect place for mountain bike enthusiast.
yeah, and Hartman's opens early in the season and stays open late as a rule, so we get a lot of months of riding in there too, especially for such a snowy place.
Yeah, I mean,
And then you even get the, fat biking in the winter.
Yeah.
Which
That's a totally different thing.
Yeah, I don't know if the listeners know, but fat bikes go on snow, and they actually groom trails at Hartman's in the wintertime, so the fat bikes have places to ride. So it doesn't stop when the snow comes.
You just got to be a little tougher.
Yeah.
February. Dress well.
Well, hey, Tyler, I rode with you, and I saw how you can ride that wheelie or that manual and all that kind of stuff. You are technically an excellent rider, so I want to ask you this question. What are 3 things that mountain bike riders should do to improve their game?
I think, obviously just, practice and time on the bike. I mean, for me, it just, from a young age, I just was always on my bike. I couldn't sit in front of the TV. As a kid, I was always outside riding. And I think for me, especially like wheeling, you get that balance point, and then from there, it almost feels like, the bike's part of my legs when I'm walking. It's just, I feel connected to my bike, and I know what it's going to do, and, it gives you that extra control. But I also think, riding with, more advanced riders, riding behind them and watching what they're doing, you just kind of pick up on things and learn. I don't know. I mean, I just really think, just spending the time on the bike, and, everybody's, I don't think you have to get too far into being super, super technical with your form. I think everybody's kind of got their own style. I just think it's spending the time on the bike. I mean, really, that's the biggest thing is, you go out and ride, and then you want to hit that drop, or you want to hit that jump, and you just keep working towards that, and just, constantly build, which for me, I mean, a lot of it, motocross is what really, made me comfortable fast on a mountain bike, is, because I was used to the high speeds and, bigger jumps. And so that made me comfortable on a mountain bike. But I think that's really just putting the time in, and then riding with somebody that's, a little bit faster, and you learn from, riding behind them, and just kind of go from there.
That's always what I've done, is always ride with people faster than me, but I still can't catch them. But it's just, the vision, the dream's still there.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. I have found something interesting. I started mountain biking kind of in earnest in like 2015, I guess, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I did a little riding before that, but that's when I really got into it. But I've got 5 solid years of doing this a lot, and there's no end. I don't think I will ever find a point where I could say, okay, I've learned how to do this. There's more and more and more. It's a lifetime adventure, always improving. You know what I mean?
I think that's one, like you said, that's one of the beauties of it. It's, you can do it, really, as long as you're alive, and there is no ceiling.
Yeah, that's cool. So, Craig, what about things that would make you a better rider? Have you had some breakthroughs where you're like, wow, that was a big deal, I got to tell people, try this?
Well, people always ask me, how do you get faster on the mountain bike? And my philosophy is pretty simple: ride with people faster than you.
Yeah.
So you can train all you want, but it's kind of like going to school. You can learn stuff from school, but the real world teaches you more, and that's where you really learn. And I say I ride with a lot of dudes that are pro level riders, and that I'm still not the greatest rider, but I learn every day, and that's just that excites me. What am I going to, whether it be a fear that I'm going to conquer that day, a piece of trail that's kind of got into my head, and, riding with somebody that can hit that line, and then I follow him in, that's like with Ty. There are so many things in the last couple of years that he's taken me through that scared the, what out of me. But the high fives and the hell yeahs after it, those are priceless.
Yeah, good
Look for
time.
that. Yeah. So, like I said, it's just mountain biking is all those things that there's certain aspects you just got to get comfortable with. And, it's overcoming fear, a lot of it. Getting out of your head, is the biggest thing. Vision. What I notice a lot of mistakes people make when they're riding bikes is they're looking down in front of them instead of looking ahead of them. And, that's another good thing when you're riding with somebody else is you focus on their back wheel, because, we don't trust our peripheral like we should. And our peripheral is very accurate. And so when you're going through a rock garden and you look down at a rock, 9 times out of 10, you're going to hit that rock.
Yeah, exactly.
That's actually, back in the motorcycle days, my grandpa, I mean, he's with one lung. I mean, he raced motorcycles into his 70s. And that's one thing he always said is, you're going to go where you look.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at a rock, you're going to hit the rock.
That's where you're going.
But if you're looking ahead and you're looking at, where you want to go, you're going to go there. Yeah. But that's a good thing to take away is if you are riding, don't, look where you want to go. Don't look at that rock or that, if there's a line where there's a smooth line down the right and then it's all rocky and, drops off on the left, and you're staring at the left side and still moving, you're probably going to go off the left side. So, but that's just thing. I mean, you learn and you constantly learn. It's, I still feel like every time I go out and ride, constantly learning and
figure out a tweak or, but it's all balance and vision.
There's a lesson for life there too.
Yeah.
And we've said this before on the Adventure Sports podcast, but it's worth bringing up again. And that is, we do end up where we look. So when people focus on the thing they want to stop doing in life, they still go where they look. Yeah. But if you can find an alternative and put your focus on something that's healthy, that's where you want to be in life, you're going to go where you look. And that's one of the beautiful things about mountain biking, actually. That might be the focus that will get you out of some rut, because it gives you something worth doing, worth fighting for, getting healthier for, to enjoy more, all that kind of stuff. I mean, people need something to pursue sometimes. And maybe it's mountain biking. It is for some people, Yeah,
it's worked for us.
Yeah.
That's fun. Okay, we were talking and we gave the teaser about the pedals, but we should probably explain what they are, because the mountain bikers out there are kind of like, well, yeah, I understand my SBDs and my egg beaters or whatever, sometimes they don't do what I want, but the flats don't give me the power I need. So you set out to solve these two problems. So tell us about that.
Awesome, Curt. Yes. So basically what we focused on was trying to pull the attributes of our traditional, confusingly named clipless pedal, and the freedom and the confidence that a flat pedal provides. We wanted to bring those attributes into a pedal in the middle. And so after having an aha moment and discovering a neodymium magnet and how freaking powerful those guys are, we started building a pedal around neodymium magnets. And we have about 3 years of R&D, well, actually 4 years now of R&D in the pedal system. So by no means is it perfect. I think we're going to keep making it better, but we have a pedal that we're ready to launch. And basically it rides like a flat pedal. It gives you the comfort, the stability of a flat pedal. You can still weigh your bike. You can still dab in corners instinctually. There is no muscle memory, such as a clipless pedal. But you have a connection utilizing the neodymium magnets. There are 128 pounds of pull force per each pedal. and the polarity is north and south. So, what that means is the poles are up and down. And so long as you're moving up and down on the magnets, they retain attention. But as soon as you break that polarity and start moving east or west or, front or back, you can break that attachment. And so, in short, there are flat pedals that ride like clip pedals and clipless pedals that ride like flat pedals because they're instinctual. You don't have to think about clipping out. If you get in one of those moments, like in clipless, when you change the physics of the motion, which we've all learned, you can step in and out of clipless all day long as long as you're riding around, in some flat, easy single track or on the street or something. But as soon as you change the geometry and the physics, and then things get scary, they're a heck of a lot harder to get out of. And with the rim pedal system, it's instinctual. You do it without thinking.
I've interviewed a lot of riders over the years, and a lot of them told me, yeah, I used to use clipless pedals where I'd be locked in back when I used to race this or that, when I was cross country or but now I just ride flats. And I said, well, why'd you switch to flats? They said, well, we got on more of cross-country trail, narrow trail riding, and where you really need to be able to get in and out better. And I just found that the flat pedal gives me that much more, even though I give up some power, it gives me that much more control, right?
Yes, right. And the confidence is the big thing. But, again, we're not here to replace the clipless pedal. We're not here to replace the flat pedal. We're just creating an in-between that kind of brings, the best of both worlds. Because I love riding flats because, flats, you got to have skills to ride flats because you can get away with a lot of stuff being clipped in. And, learning how to bunny hop, learning how to, weigh your bike. When you're clipped in, those are much easier. But when you're on flats, you got to, sharpen that skill a lot more. So, and that makes you a better rider long term. But
Well, I think for me, I've always rode flat pedals. I've actually never even clipped in, just because coming from motocross, I was like, I don't want to be locked into my pedal. I want the freedom. And the first time I rode with, the REM pedals, I would just I couldn't believe it because it feels just like a flat pedal. It feels no different than a flat pedal. It's comfortable, but then just having that added connection, it gives you that little bit more of, you can throw the bike around a little bit more. You can, you get that little extra help bunny hopping or coming into a tight corner and being able to lift your back end up. And, you get all these little things that just,
and the chunder and the rock gardens.
Yeah. And it's just, with flats, you get, every once in a while you can be going through some really rocky, gnarly stuff and your feet can slip off and then you gash your shins up.
Right.
It helps with that too, and as far as just pedaling, climbing up a fire road, just that having that connection is really awesome. But it's really easy to get back on at the same time, because if you do pull your foot off to dab it in a corner, whereas clipless, there's one fixed, there's no really room for air. Whereas with the REM pedal, it's even if your plate's only, halfway onto the magnet body, you're still having connection. You still have that flat pedal. So you're not going to lose your footing. And then you can just kind of slide your foot back into place when it's, safe to do so. So for me, I feel like I've become a better rider just riding with the pedals, just having that extra connection, but still keeping that flat pedal feel. Cause that's, to me, I just love that feel on a bike.
Yeah. Cause the pedals were designed for, DH and enduro. That's, that's our target. But what we found is, it's going to, we feel it's going to go much further than that. I think it's going to hit, cross country, maybe not the hardcore racer, but 99% of the XC riders out there, it's going to enhance their ride. And especially those that, riding more technical. It gives you that confidence knowing that you can get out and get back on and not lose a pedal stroke.
Well, I love the idea. I tell you my story. When we moved to Gunnison, I was a couple, 3 years into mountain biking, and I was trying to ride SPDs whenever I was on what I would call a true cross-country trail that wasn't too techy. But then I was putting my flats on when we got here because there's a lot of techie stuff, and my skill set wasn't good enough. And so I was riding flats, but I felt slow because I liked the extra torque I got out of the SPDs, the clipless pedals. But then, because my sons were racing, they kept going with the SPDs, and then I couldn't keep up with them. And so I eventually, my skill set increased, and I put my clipless pedals back on in an effort to try to keep up with my sons. And now I don't go back to the flat pedals very often, but I still would love to have that flexibility. And it seems to me that you guys have kind of come up with a solution that does both. And that's what I think is so cool, because I would love it for doing some really techie trails and know that I can get my foot on anytime I want to. It's not going to get stuck, With my, I don't know if you guys have experienced this, with my clipless pedals, sometimes in dry or sandy conditions, sand and grit and stuff builds up in the pedal while you ride. And then when you have to come out, you're kind of stuck in. I mean, you can get out, but it takes like twice or triple the force. Have you ever experienced that?
Very much.
And so that's a scary drawback to the clipless pedals. And I see this as a solution because that's not going to happen with your system.
Correct. Yeah, it's an all smooth surface.
Man, that is super cool. All right, so I've got to ask a question. Someone else is going to be out there wanting to ask this, so I have to represent the listener here. You go to some of these health fairs and stuff, and people sell magnet bracelets that, are supposed to help your health somehow. And I don't think anything's ever been established, but people use magnets for health reasons. So it brings up the question, what about the magnets in health? Is there anything to be concerned about or favorable?
We haven't found anything, obviously the thing that always comes up is, Chinese have been using it for some time, putting it on their feet to pull negative ions out of the body. We haven't done any personal studies on it as of yet. It's just basically stuff that we've, researched and whatnot. And, I think, really neodymium magnets are in their infancy in the States. They're used in a multitude of applications, computers, cell phones, speakers, car speakers, home speakers. They're used in tons of stuff. And so, scientifically speaking, I can't answer that. Has it done any, have we found any harms? It hasn't cleared my cell phone. It hasn't wiped the disk dry on it. It hasn't hurt my computer. They are magnets, but
it's hurt our fingers a couple times.
Yeah, that's about the worst part.
But don't get your finger between the metal plate and the magnet. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I think if you have the pedals off the bike and you don't realize how strong they are, and if they grab together and your fingers are in between, it's gonna.
Well, they need to be that strong to work on the bike. Well, I think what you're saying there are many things out there that people have created kind of a urban myth around, and I magnets for health. I don't know what that means, but the bottom line is we know it's not a big deal because it's been established that it's not a big deal. And we don't know maybe your pedals will help. Maybe by riding these things, there's going to be some benefit you guys discover someday. But I had to throw it out there because I know some people are wondering.
I think too, with as far as knee pain and whatnot with clipless, it's not a natural motion. So it is just with riding on our, inside trainers at home, notice that, after switching from the clipless to the REM pedals, the knees weren't hurting as bad.
Yeah. Because you have more natural movement.
Because the pedal really has endless flow.
Yeah,
so you can move even when you're, have that connection, you can still move your foot around and it's not, putting added stress on your knees. So, again, we have no scientific backing on that, but that's just from,
what we feel.
Well, it makes sense to me. I mean, I keep my clipless pedals loose so that I can change the angle that I'm pedaling, because I have had some knee issues from bad knee position, mountain biking, and it's hard to fix the knee position if your foot's locked in too tight, you know? So having that full float, that means you can put your foot at any position. That sounds good, actually.
So yeah, outside of that, we are good at back. We are working with shoe pedal interfaces. We have some scientific stuff that we will be diving into. We had somebody that just joined the team who's a biomechanic, industrial engineer, and he did his thesis on pedal shoe interface. And so we will be working with the labs at CU, Colorado University, and because we want to back everything with science moving forward. And we do have some other ideas, cooking, but because we're gonna run into some people that are they're just not gonna believe what we're doing and all that, and and that's the world we live in. But we are gonna back a lot of our stuff with science. So, and maybe someday we'll get to that, the health part of it.
Well, maybe it'll keep COVID-19 at bay. How about that?
Yeah.
Oh, man, we could use some COVID help right now. You never know. You never know. Well, how can people get more information if they want to try your pedals or learn more about them? Where do they go?
Well, we have our social media on Instagram. It's just Hustle Bike Labs. We try to stay pretty relevant on that. And also our website is just hustlebikelabs.com. And you can go there and sign up for our newsletter, which we don't bombard people. We just, every once in a while, we just kind of keep them up to date with, where we're at and what we're looking at for as far as availability and whatnot. So, and
their feedback. Because we're wanting as much feedback as possible. That interaction with our customers. That's very important to us.
Well, that's great. And what I like about your website, I'm looking at it right now, is just you can see the whole thing, right? You can look at it and see how it works. And it looks like a fantastic system. So anyway, very cool.
Thank you, Curt.
And hopefully soon you'll be able to go on there and actually buy the pedals.
Yeah, we're still, COVID-19's really put a kink in the manufacturing world and for the outdoor industry as a whole. So, we were supposed to launch in spring, and here we are still at the end of the prototype phase, trying to get to that manufacturing spot. So our goal is still to launch this year, but, we can't make a promise.
Yeah, a lot of the distribution channels got jammed up because the shipping centers got shut down, manufacturing got shut down, and then came back at a trickle of the pace that it was before, and everything is, I think people understand. We're all living in that world right now.
Well, and the demand is probably higher than it's ever been right now, because you go to your local bike shops and it's hard to find a bike, because when all this happened, people wanted to get outside, and a bike's a great way to do it. Yeah, and which I think it's going to be good for the sport, because you're going to have all these new people that have gotten outside that have never maybe rode, and then they start realizing the health benefits and how fun it is, and then
awesomeness of it.
So
it is a good time, and I personally feel like it's one of the healthiest things you can do. And a couple of reasons why is when you're mountain biking, it's like you're almost always doing intervals. You're going up something, you're going down something, you're going flat, you're going curvy, you're going up, you're going flat, you're going down. You know what I mean? And it just takes your body through all the paces, and the cardio workout is amazing. Man, it's world class.
But yeah, and then just the pure fact that it puts you in a meditative state. That's powerful in its own.
Oh yeah.
It's healthy for your mind.
Yeah.
As much as it is for the rest of your body.
But it forces you to be in. If you're not in a meditative state, then something's going to go wrong.
Yep. It's really good for clearing the stress out and letting your body flow more smoothly. So again, the website is hustlebikelabs.com. You can see the pedal there. Soon you'll be able to order one. Guys, thanks for coming on the Adventure Sports Podcast and sharing it with us. I think this is a really cool system.
Kurt,
Thank you, Kurt. Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kurt. It was awesome riding with you, and thank you for taking the time to do this. And we will see you next month.
Next month. Fantastic. I was going to ask when you're going to be out here. Let's plan some rides.
Absolutely. We will be there.
All right.
Looking forward to it.
Very cool. For all you listeners out there, hey, until the next show, make sure you get out there and have some fun. Maybe it's mountain biking. Give it a try.
First of all, thank you so much for listening. It means the world to us that you choose to listen to this show. If you'd like to help us further, you can leave a review on iTunes, share us with your friends, your family. It goes a long way to growing the show. You can also support us financially through patreon.com/adventuresportspodcast. Link is in the show notes. And also, if you have an idea of who could be a good guest for the show, we're always looking for people to tell their story about the outdoors or adventure. So if you know someone, please reach out. Email us at info@adventuresportspodcast.com. And until then, get out there and have some fun.